Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to the S.O.S Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight, which is Operation Startup. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. On today's show, we have Mr. Jason Sharon. He's a 20-year U.S. Navy veteran, nuclear engineer, mortgage, and now he's a mortgage expert. He's the owner broker. He's the owner broker of Home Loans Incorporated in Charleston, South Carolina. He specializes in VA loans and investment property financing by serving veterans, first-time homebuyers, and real estate investors across the Southeast. He's a published author of 5 mortgage books and a frequent media contributor to Forbes, Yahoo Finance, and Money.com. Jason turns complex mortgage topics into clear, actionable guidance. How you doing today, Jason?
And blessed beyond measure. How about you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Let's hop right into the interview. So looking back on your 20-year career, um, I would ask, what did you learn in your transition from the military to civilian life, and how did that shape you who you are today?
So, what I learned is yes, sir, no, ma'am, even when you don't want to say it. Show up 5 minutes early, stay
Okay,
5 minutes
gotcha.
late. Show up 5 minutes early, stay 5 minutes late because there's going to be somebody that leaves a little bit before you and shows up a little bit after you to take the heat off of you.
Yeah,
You do those, you do what you're supposed to do, and
you
everything
do
will be
what you do.
fine. Nothing's changed since I got out. I'm still that way. Even if I'm 50 years old now, I'm talking to a 22-year-old that wants to buy a house. Maybe it's a 24-year-old, Lance Corporal that's trying to buy the first house in Fort Meade or whatever. Um, I'm still going to treat them with that same level of respect. So, that level of respect, that level of discipline that we all learn is, carries over. And because there's so many civilians that don't have that.
Got you.
And what's that
Got you.
saying? You don't have to outrun the bear, you just got to outrun your buddy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what was your biggest lesson learned from your transition, like from military life to what we call civilian life? What has been that biggest lesson you've learned?
I don't think it's any different than what most of our brothers and sisters deal with. Is that we're used to having somebody that we can depend on. Even the
Hmm.
even the laziest, crappiest guy in our division, our department, our squadron, or whatever, Jimmy, you knew you could count on that guy.
Yeah,
And in the civilian world, you don't have that in a lot of office environments. You don't have the guys that are
true.
going to show up no matter what. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of us, end up in a position where we're surrounded by civilians, and we're like, we expect some level of competence, we expect some level of effort commensurate with our experience, and you don't get that, and you're like, and you can't say the things that you want to say because that'll get you in trouble.
Hmm.
And you end up, being in a spot where you're just not happy because you don't have the same mentality people around you that are going to bust their butt. They're going to show up no matter what. Going to pull off the mission. So that was my biggest thing is I can't depend on civilians the way I was able to depend on even the worst performer in my division.
Got you. Okay. So take me back to the moment entrepreneurship sparked for you. I mean, what was going on in your life? Because granted, you're a nuclear engineer. You could easily have gotten a job in the nuclear engineer space, but you chose to go the different route. Or maybe you started nuclear engineering and then decided to pivot. What was that thing that made you go into being an entrepreneur?
Two parts. One is well, first I didn't want to be in engineering anymore. 20 years. I'm like, I'm ready for something fresh. I was ready for something different. Um,
Hmm.
so whenever I was after duty for a little bit of time, I did have a license, a real estate license, and I did real estate part time for a bit, and I made good money at it. And then I was like, maybe after I was out, I was like, maybe I'll get back into real estate. But I'm like, no, I don't want to drive people around my car all day and you know buy them sandwiches and then never buy a house for me. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, maybe I'll get into mortgages. So I called my old mortgage guy
Hmm.
and said, hey, what do you think about me getting into mortgages? I'm thinking about that. And he's like, well, come see what we do. And he hired me. And in South Carolina where I am, you have to be licensed as a loan originator, work for somebody for 3 years before you could open up your own company. So I was burnt out on mortgages, about to get out, do something different, and I was like, maybe I opened up my own mortgage company. And all of a sudden, I had this fresh breath. So I opened up my own mortgage company 8 years ago. Yeah, about 8 years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, so 8 years ago. Um, and most of what we do is VA loans, just because veterans feel comfortable with veterans. But I heard a really good quote not too long ago that an entrepreneur is someone that'll work 80 hours a week for themselves before they work 40 hours a week for somebody else. And I thought that was pretty darn wise,
That is. That is.
because I'll be up till midnight or 1 tonight working. Wouldn't bother me. It won't bother me a bit.
Got you. Hey, I love it. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So now that you're in the thick of things as an entrepreneur, you own your own mortgage brokerage. What's been the most important, most rewarding part of being an entrepreneur, and what kind of lights you up every day you get a chance to work with people?
So my favorite thing is when someone calls me and says, "Hey, Jason, I just got told no.
Mm,
I don't think the loan officer was right. What do you think?" And then I figure out how to say yes. So
yeah,
I close a lot of loans, and I'm not bragging that closing a lot of loans. What I would brag on myself about is that last year, that phone call happened 40 times, probably a little bit more than 40, but 40 times last year, I closed a loan for somebody that got told no somewhere else, which means they got told yes, they got pre-qualified, they got a contract, and then their loan fell apart in the middle. They called me and I saved it.
yeah,
So that's
got you.
probably the most rewarding thing.
I mean, it sounds like to me they just need to come to you from the beginning, and they don't have to worry about being told no, right?
that would be beautiful, wouldn't it?
All right. Now we understand that being an entrepreneur is not the easiest thing. We go through our ups and downs. What's been the hardest or most frustrating part for you of this journey, and how did you deal with that?
So the hardest part is now you've got even more mouths to feed, right? So, you and I wake up, we've got our family, we've got, that we've got to take care of. But now I've got a work family that depends on
Yeah,
me, right? So I've got 5 salaried employees that I've got to perform for, right? And not only do I have to perform for them, I've got to earn their trust to come back to work for me the next day, right? I can't take that for granted.
absolutely.
Right. So even on my company website, homeownership.com, there's homeownership.com slant work family. It's not, hey, here's our employees, here's it's our work family. Um, so that's the hardest part is now you're responsible for more mouths to feed. And it's not only those 5 salaried employees, it's their spouses, it's their kids.
Absolutely.
My efforts, my production is, there's 20 mouths that are waiting for food for me to produce for them.
Got you. Now let's talk about that for a second, because I hear a lot of maybe I want to say horror stories, but I hear a lot of stories that are not so good, where people have a hard time hiring when they own their own business, especially as a veteran, when we know our standards are sometimes a little bit more structured and disciplined than when we come out of the military. What was that process like for you and finding those right people to work alongside?
Yeah, so over many years, I've interesting. I did not think we'd get into something like this. This is interesting. Over the years, I've refined my hiring process, and in my process, there's 2 key parts. One is
Hmm.
I sent whenever I'm doing a job posting, there's a YouTube video, and that video is me giving instructions for 4 tasks, and I
Uh-huh.
intentionally speak fast and I want to see and I say, and I won't bore everybody with it, but it basically I say, hey, send me your resume, and I have them rename it a specific way.
Hmm.
I say, hey, go find a disc profile test, free disc profile test on the internet. Take that, send me your results, and I say, and I want the file to be named last.first.disc.pdf. Then I say, go my website. I give them 4 tasks, and what I want to
Yeah.
do is see, hey, can they follow verbal directions? And I speak
Okay.
fast in the video, they can pause it and rewatch it. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Just like if I'm giving them a verbal task over the phone or a person, they could say, "Hey, Jason, can you slow down or can you say that again?" So I want to
Yeah.
see, can they adapt to my style of management, my style of leadership? Can they do Can they
Mhm.
rename files? I'm the mortgage business. We deal with bank statements, credit reports, driver's. So we can deal with documents
Yeah.
all day long. That's the documents the name of our game. Um,
Mhm.
can they do basic internet research? Is part of what I'm trying to gauge there. And also one of the things is, hey, tell me a problem that you solved in your last position and how you did that. And I want to see, are they going to be able to figure out stuff, or are they going to have to call me on every time they have an issue? Right. So I want to empower them with some level of autonomy to where they can get some stuff done and handle some problems without kicking everything up to me. Now, do I want certain things to kick it up to me? For sure. And they understand that. But, that's what I'm gauging in that video. And then if they don't do the video, I don't even look at the resume
Got you.
because that shows me they're serious, right? Because there's a bunch of people that just shotgun resumes and shotgun job applications. And I got
Mhm.
tired of responding, hey, ask me, I'd ask them a question, I never hear from them again. So if they don't have if they don't want the job bad enough to where they're not going to watch the video and do the four simple things in the video, I don't want nothing to do with them. Then once I do interview them, the typical stuff, nothing special, but I ask one odd question. And it really, if I think back to the people that I hired before this, and if I think back to if I ever hired without getting a good answer out of this, that employee was a disaster. And the
Wow.
question is, tell me about your childhood.
Mhm.
And what I'm looking for there is I want to see, are they a team player? I don't care if they came from money. I don't care if they were super rich. I don't care if they're poor. I have memories of standing in line for government cheese and powdered milk. We grew up bouncing between trailer parks, sleep on the floor at people at friends' houses. We grew up dirt poor.
Yeah.
The I don't care how they came. I want to hear what they talk about, how they talk about the family. Because if they talk not great about the family, they're going to talk not great about their work family, their colleagues.
Yeah.
And I don't want drama in my company.
Mhm.
So that's kind of I don't know if that's what you're looking for with that, that question about interviewing and hiring, but that's how I handle it.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I mean, being in the real estate space myself, I've heard the phrase, what is it? Slow to hire, quick to fire
Hmm.
type
For
process.
sure.
Um, and so I just wanna see what your process was because as military veterans, we sometimes have a different standard than most accommodate are accustomed to. So I wanted to see how you do it compared to what others are doing. So that's the reason I asked that question.
Right.
Now for you, I know you said you're a real estate agent before you decided to go into mortgages. Did you happen to plug in any type of veteran programs, mentorships, or communities to launch that business once you became a broker owner?
I did not. I should have. I did some volunteer work with veteran organizations, but not anything, not any direct veteran networking. There's been a couple that I tried to plug in, and none of them have been really successful and grew legs. I'd love to do that more, but I haven't found any that are really have been really long term solutions for that kind of stuff around here.
Got you. So now, so tell us about your business. What exactly is you do? Who do you serve? And what makes you a little bit different than other companies out there?
So you can imagine a nuclear engineer is pretty geeky and pretty nerdy.
Hmm.
Right? I'm the nerdiest loan officer you're ever going to meet. I read the guidelines nearly every day. There's very rarely is there a day that I don't have the guidelines open. And the guidelines either being the VA guidelines or FHA guidelines for civilian or conventional or USDA, whatever. I'm in the guidelines every day because the underwriter is not going to be in the guidelines every day. The underwriters will do their best, but the underwriters
Yeah.
make mistakes.
Yes.
Or so if you're not smarter than the underwriter is going to beat you. And I'm not going to get beaten on a loan.
Hmm.
So what do I do different is I'm in the guidelines every day. If there's an issue with an underwriter, I think they're wrong. Hey, underwriter, great. I appreciate the great underwrite. Can you show me what paragraph it is you're referring to on this? And they can't. That's what I enjoy doing is that loan product because there's no better loan product out there. And if anybody tells a veteran that they should be thinking about FHA or conventional, man, kick that guy in the junk and run away. If it's a veteran, they're not doing a VA loan. There better be an amazingly good reason for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's so many myths out there about VA loans. That they're
So
harder. The VA is the easiest underwriting.
I definitely agree with that. So so basically, you are a home loan mortgage or mortgage loan originator, and you specialize in VA loans. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yes,
Okay, got it. And you're based out of South Carolina, correct?
I am. Yep, we're based out of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm licensed in 10 states, basically most of the Southeast.
Got you. Okay. So for anyone that wants to connect with you, learn more about it, and possibly get a pre-approval, where should they go to get connected with you, Jason?
Yeah, super easy. So homeloansinc.com. Can you believe that website, that business was available? I couldn't believe I scored homeloansinc.com. And then my phone number is even easier. 843 low rate is my phone number. Area code 843 low rate is my phone number.
Oh, okay. So 843 low rate and
Yep.
homeloansinc.com. Absolutely. So if you're thinking about buying a house and you need some VA, um, one that specializes in VA loans, reach out to Jason and his team to get you pre-approved. So Jason, before we go, I'd like to ask all my guests one question before they go. So for you, nuclear engineer, had a real estate license while you were still active duty to becoming now a mortgage loan originator, broker owner. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to become an entrepreneur that's still maybe in the military, or someone who has gotten out and still wants to pursue that idea of becoming an entrepreneur?
No, that's super simple. There's a book to read. And if you're an entrepreneur and haven't read this book, you're behind. And I wish I read this book 30 years ago. I read it 10 years ago. I wish I read it 30 years ago. Myth Revisited. You probably heard that book before. E like Echo, Myth, MYTH,
Mhm.
Revisited. Cheesy name, amazing book. It is the book that anybody that wants to build a business or has a business and is struggling or just wants to grow, whatever, E Myth Revisited, that book is the Bible for owning a business, for owning a service space or owning a business, a small business like you and I. Now, when you get to the point where
Yes,
you're running, franchises, that book's not it. But
gotcha. So E-Myth, check out the book. Hey, so want to thank you, Jason, for joining us today on the show on the Vet SOS podcast. On behalf of the Vet SOS family, I'd like to thank everyone as well for listening in. You can find the Vet SOS podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and all the social media platforms as well. And when you go on there, make sure you subscribe and follow Vet SOS so you don't miss anything like this great interview we did with Jason out of Charleston, South Carolina. And remember, our phrase here is don't drown and see a transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline.